A very good evening to all of you. Welcome to the fourth workshop under the workshop series of Jumpstart 2021, organized by the Rotaract of Achievers Lanka Business School. So as you all know, Jumpstart is an opportunity, a valuable opportunity that we give for early stage startups as well as mature stage startups to validate their business or to get connected with investors for their betterment of their own startup. So as the first step of this initiative, we decided to have a series of workshops where we equip you with the necessary knowledge and expertise in the subject of entrepreneurship. So today we are looking into the legal aspect and the business registration of startups and regarding entrepreneurship. As for today, before we move on to our session, let me dedicate this small time for our banking partner, Bank of Sri Lanka.
Bank of Ceylon, bearer of the nation's proud lion crest, is honoured to be named Bank of the Year 2021 Sri Lanka by the globally renowned The Banker magazine UK. We salute all Sri Lankans who have empowered our journey to victory.
With that, let's move on to our speakers. Let me introduce our speakers for today's session. So today's session will be conducted by Mr. Akalanka Ranathunga, former Senior Product Manager for Small and Medium Enterprises of Seylan Bank PLC. Mr. Akalanka joined with us in the previous session as well, where we talked about finance and finance, bookkeeping and fundraising aspects of entrepreneurship. And also we will be having Ms. Hashini Wijesekara, who's a graduate of Faculty of Law of University of Colombo. So we are really honored and we are really glad to have you on board to educate us on this legal aspects and business registrations area, and handing over the proceedings to Ms. Hashini Wijesekara. Ma'am, over to you.
සුබ සන්ධ්‍යාවක් හැමෝටම. මම අද වැඩසටහනින් කතා කරන්න බලාපොරොත්තු වෙන්නේ legal business registration පිළිබඳව. ගොඩක් අයට business idea එකක් තිබුණාට, business කරන්න ආසාව තිබුණාට, කැමැත්ත තිබුණාට මේ business එකක් register කරන්නේ කොහොමද? ඒකට අදාළ වෙන process එක මොකක්ද? එහෙම නැත්නම් ඒකට අදාළ වෙන අදාළ කරගත යුතු ලියකියවිලි මොනවද කියන එක ගැන අවබෝධයක් නැති නිසා ගොඩක් වෙලාවට මේ business registration කියන එක ගැන වැඩි කතා බහක් ලක් වෙන්නේ නැහැ. නමුත් legally බලුවොත් ඒක ගොඩක් අපි වැදගත් දෙයක් විදිහට සලකන්න ඕන කාරණාවක්. ඒ අර්ථයේ මම අද වැඩසටහනේ business registration process එක වගේම ඒ business type එක අනුව කොහොමද මේ business registration process එක වෙනස් වෙන්නේ කියන එක ගැන කතා කරන්න බලාපොරොත්තු වෙනවා. ඒකට මම මුලින්ම කතා කරන්න බලාපොරොත්තු වෙන්නේ ඇයි business එකක් register කරන්න අවශ්‍ය වෙන්නේ කියන කාරණාව. business එකක් register කරන එකෙන් අපිට සමාජයේ තුල business එක ගැන හොඳ පිළිගැනීමක් ලබා දෙන්න පුළුවන්. ඒ වගේම යම්කිසි කෙනෙක් business එක දැන් තියෙන තත්ත්වයට වඩා වැඩි තත්ත්වයකට ඔසවා තබන්න අපේක්ෂාවෙන් ඉන්නවා නම් ඒ පුද්ගලයා ඒ business එක register කරන එක අනිවාර්යයෙන්ම කරන්න ඕනේ. යම්කිසි කෙනෙක් ඒ තමන්ගේ ව්‍යාපාරයේ රෙජිස්ටර් කරන එක නොකර සිටීමෙන් අභියෝග වලට මුහුණ දෙන්න සිද්ධ වෙනවා. ප්‍රධාන වශයෙන්ම වෙනත් ආයතන සමග සම්බන්ධ වෙලා වැඩ කරද්දී, ඒ වගේම සේවකයන් බඳවා ගැනීමකදී, බැංකුවකින් ණයක් ගන්නද්දී, එහෙම නැත්නම් වෙනත් ආයෝජන මාර්ග වලට යොමු වීමේදී මේ ව්‍යාපාරයේ ලියාපදිංචි නොකිරීම යන කාරණාව අභියෝගයක් විදිහට බලපාන්න පුළුවන්. ඒ වගේම තමයි මිනිස්සු එහෙම නැත්නම් කස්ටමර්ස්ලට ව්‍යාපාරය ගැන හොඳ පිළිගැනීමක් විශ්වාසයක් ඇති කරන්න පුළුවන් මේ ව්‍යාපාරය ලියාපදිංචි කිරීම හරහා. ඒ ඇතිවන විශ්වාසය පසුගාමී දිනවලදී ගොඩක් අපිට වැදගත් විදිහට බලපානවා. ඒ අනුව යම්කිසි කෙනෙක් ව්‍යාපාරයක් පටන් ගන්න ඉන්නවා නම් ඒක රෙජිස්ටර් කරන එක එයාගේ ව්‍යාපාර ගෝල් එකක් විදිහට සලකන්න ඕනේ කියන එක මම මෙතනදී මතක් කරනවා. ඒ වගේම ඊළඟට මම කතා කරන්න බලාපොරොත්තු වෙන්නේ කොහොමද ව්‍යාපාරයක් රෙජිස්ටර් කරන්න කලින් මොනවද සලකා බලන්න ඕන කාරණා කියන එක කාරණා. එයාට කැපිටල් ඉන්වෙස්ට්මන්ට් එක අපි කොහොමද සම්පාදනය කරගන්නේ? තමන්ගේ පෞද්ගලික ධනයකට යොදවනවද? එහෙම නැත්නම් ණයක් ගන්නවද? ණයක් ගන්නව නම් අපි ඒකට පස්සේ ගෙවන්න වෙන පොලිය කොහොමද පියවන්න බලාපොරොත්තු වෙන්නේ? එහෙම නැත්නම් අපි තවත් පාර්ට්නර් කෙනෙක්ව සම්බන්ධ කරගෙන ඒ මුදල් සම්පාදනය කරගන්නවද කියන කාරණාව ගැන අවධානය යොමු කරන්න ඕනේ. ඊළඟ කාරණේ තමයි බිස්නස් ඉන්ඩස්ට්‍රි එක මොකක්ද කියන එක. එතනදී අවධානය එහෙම නැත්නම් රිස්ක් එක කියන එක විශේෂයෙන් සැලකලා බලන්න ඕනේ. යම්කිසි අවස්ථාවක ව්‍යාපාරය අසමත් වුණොත් ව්‍යාපාරයට ණයක් කරන් තියෙනවා නම් ඒ ණය පියවීමේදී කොහොමද ඒ අයිතිකාරය වගකීමට යටත් වෙන්නේ කියන එක මෙතෙන්දී අවධානය යටතේ සලකලා බලන්න. යම්කිසි අවස්ථාවක ඒ බිස්නස් ටයිප් එක අනුව තමන්ගේ පෞද්ගලික ධනෙ පවා විකුණලා ඒ ණය පියවන්න වෙන අවස්ථා තියෙනවා. එහෙම නොවෙන්න නම් තමන් බිස්නස් එක කොයි ව්‍යාපාර ක්‍රමයේ යටතේ රෙජිස්ටර් කරන්න ඕනද කියන එකත් මෙතෙන්දී සලකලා බලන්න ඕනේ. ඊට අමතරව ටැක්ස් amount එක. එතෙන්දී ඒ ටැක්ස් amount එක අපිට දරාගන්න හැකි මට්ටමේ එකක් වෙන්න ඕනේ. බිස්නස් ටයිප් එක අනුව බිස්නස් එක රෙජිස්ටර් කරන විදිහ අනුව ඒ ටැක්ස් එක කැල්කියුලේට් කරන විදිහ වෙනස්. ඒ කාරණාවත් මම මෙතනදී මතක් කරනවා. මේ විදිහට මේ කාරණා සලකලා බලලා අපිට ප්‍රධාන වශයෙන්ම ආකාර තුනක් යටතේ බිස්නස් රෙජිස්ටර් කරන්න පුළුවන්. ඒක පුද්ගල ව්‍යාපාරයක් විදිහට, පාර්ට්නර්ෂිප් එකක් විදිහට, එහෙම නැත්නම් හවුල් ව්‍යාපාරයක් විදිහට, එහෙම නැත්නම් ප්‍රයිවට් ලිමිටඩ් කම්පැනි එකක් විදිහට බිස්නස් රෙජිස්ට්‍රේෂන් අපිට කරගන්න පුළුවන්. එකින් එක මම කොහොමද ඒ වගේ වාසිය අවාසිය කියන එක කතා කරලා ඊට පස්සේ කොහොමද ව්‍යාපාරයේ රෙජිස්ට්‍රේෂන් ප්‍රොසෙස් එක ගැන පස්සේ කතා කරන්න බලාපොරොත්තු වෙනවා. ඉතින් මේ තනි පුද්ගල ව්‍යාපාරයක් ගත්තොත් අපිට අනිත් ව්‍යාපාර ක්‍රම වලට සාපේක්ෂව ඉක්මනින් අඩු වියදමකින් ඒක ආරම්භ කරන්න පුළුවන්. ඒ වගේම තනි පුද්ගලයෙක් ක්‍රියාත්මක වෙන නිසා ස්වාධීන තීරණ ගන්න පුළුවන්. ඒ වගේ වාසි තියෙනවා. නමුත් අනිත් පැත්තට අපිට අවාසියක් විදිහට ප්‍රධාන වශයෙන්ම බලපානවා මෙතෙන්දී අසීමිත වගකීමකට මේ හිමිකරු යටත් වෙනවා. ඒ වගේම තමයි මෙතෙන්දී තනි පුද්ගල ව්‍යාපාරයක් ලියාපදිංචි කළ පමණින් එයාට ලීගල් එන්ටිටි එකක් විදිහට සලකන්නේ නැහැ. නෛතික පුද්ගල භාවයකින් වෙන්නේ. ඒ අනුව යම්කිසි අවස්ථාවක ව්‍යාපාරයට නඩු පැවරීමක් සිද්ධ වුණොත් අයිතිකාරයාගේ නමින් තමයි මේ නඩු පැවරීම සිද්ධ වෙන්නේ. එතකොට අයිතිකාරයාට පෞද්ගලිකව මෙතෙන්දී වගකීමට යටත් වෙන්න සිද්ධ වෙනවා. ඒ වගේම තමයි ආයෝජන අවස්ථා ලබා ගැනීමේදී යම්කිසි දුෂ්කරතාවයන්ට මුහුණ දෙන්න සිද්ධ වෙනවා. ඒ වගේම අඛණ්ඩ පැවැත්ම කියන එකත් අපිට ස්ථිරවම කියන්න බෑ මේ තනි පුද්ගල ව්‍යාපාර සම්බන්ධව. ඊට අමතරව පාර්ට්නර්ෂිප් එකක් ගැන කතා කරොත් තනි පුද්ගල ව්‍යාපාරයකට සාපේක්ෂව ගත්තොත් වාසි කීපයක් තියෙනවා. එතෙන්දී එක පුද්ගලයෙක් නෙමෙයි පුද්ගලයන් කිහිපයක් සම්බන්ධ වෙන හින්දා ඒ පුද්ගලයන්ගේ හැකියාව දක්ෂතාවය අනුව ව්‍යාපාරයේ සාර්ථකත්වයට යම්කිසි දායකත්වයක් විශේෂයෙන් ගන්න පුළුවන්. ඒක කෙනා කතා කරලා ඒ අයගේ හැකියාවන් අනුව තීරණ ගැනීමේ හැකියාව තියෙනවා. ඒ වගේම ඉක්මනින් ආරම්භ කරන්න පහසුයි. ඒ වගේම මේ process එක පහසුයි. නමුත් අවාසිය වෙන්නේ ප්‍රධාන වශයෙන්ම පුද්ගලයන් කීප දෙනෙක් ඉන්න අවස්ථාවකදී තනි මතයකට එන්න ටිකක් අමාරුයි. එක්කෙනෙක් කියන්න පුළුවන් අපි මෙහෙම කරමු නැත්නම් තව කෙනෙක් කියන්න පුළුවන් නෑ ඒ විදිහ නෙමෙයි මේ විදිහට කරමු කියලා. ඒ හින්දා මේ වගේ අවස්ථාවලදී මතයකට එළඹෙද්දී යම්කිසි ගැටලුකාරී තත්ත්වයන් උද්ගත වෙන්න පුළුවන්. ඒ වගේම එතකොට ස්වාධීනතාවය කියන එක ප්‍රශ්නගත වෙන්න පුළුවන්. අනිත් ව්‍යාපාර ස්වභාවය ගත්තොත් ප්‍රයිවට් ලිමිටඩ් කම්පැනි එකක්. අනිත් තනි පුද්ගල ව්‍යාපාර සහ හවුල් ව්‍යාපාර කියන ව්යාපාර වර්ග දෙකටම සාපේක්ෂව ගත්තොත් හොඳ පිළිගැනීමක් ප්‍රයිවට් ලිමිටඩ් කම්පැනි එකකට තියෙනවා. ඒ වගේම හොඳ ප්‍රොෆෙෂනල් ඉමේජ් එකක් ප්‍රයිවට් ලිමිටඩ් කම්පැනි එකකට තියෙනවා. ඒ ලැබෙන නෛතික පුද්ගල භාවය නිසාම ඉන්වෙස්ට්මන්ට් ඔපචුනිටිස් හොඳ විදිහට ලබා ගන්න පුළුවන්. ඒ වගේම තමයි සේවකයින් බඳවා ගැනීම ගත්තොත් අනිත් ව්‍යාපාර වලට සම්බන්ධ වෙනවට වඩා ඕනෑම පුද්ගලෙක් ඕනෑම සේවකයෙක් ප්‍රයිවට් ලිමිටඩ් කම්පැනි එකකට සම්බන්ධ වෙන්නට වැඩි කැමැත්තක් දක්වනවා. ඒ වගේම ඒ තමයි ලැබෙන අමතර ප්‍රතිලාභات එක එකතු වීමේ අවස්ථාව වැඩි වෙලා තියෙනවා. ඒ වගේම ඉතින් විශේෂයෙන් සඳහන් කරන්න ඕන අනිකුත් ව්‍යාපාර ස්වභාවයන් දෙකටම තිබුණ නැති කාරණාවක් මේ ප්‍රයිවට් ලිමිටඩ් කම්පැනිස් වලට තියෙනවා. ඒ තමයි නෛතික පුද්ගල භාවය. ඒ කියන්නේ වෙනම පුද්ගලයෙක් විදිහට මේ කම්පැනි එක සැලකනවා. ඒකෙදී යම්කිසි අවස්ථාවක ව්‍යාපාරයේ නඩු පැවරීමක් සිද්ධ වුණොත් ව්‍යාපාරයේ නමින් සහ ව්‍යාපාරයේ නමින් නඩු පවරන්න හැකියාව තියෙනවා. නමුත් හැමදේකම වාසිත් තියෙනවා වගේම තමයි අවාසිත් තියෙනවා. මෙතන ප්‍රධාන වශයෙන් ලැබෙන අවාසිය ඇත්තටම අවාසියක් කියලා ගන්නවට වඩා ඒක ඇත්තටම අභියෝගයක් විදිහට සලකන්න පුළුවන්. මෙතෙන්දී ඒ රෙජිස්ට්‍රේෂන් ප්‍රොසෙස් එක එහෙම නැත්නම් ඒක පටන් ගන්න යන වියදම අනිත් ව්‍යාපාර දෙකට වඩා ටිකක් වැඩි වෙන්න පුළුවන්. ඒ වගේම තමයි අනිකුත් ව්‍යාපාර දෙකට වඩා නෛතික රාමුවකින් මේ ප්‍රයිවට් ලිමිටඩ් කම්පැනි කියන එක බැඳිලා තියෙනවා. ඊළඟට බිස්නස් එකක් රෙජිස්ටර් කරද්දී ඒ බිස්නස් ටයිප් එක අනුව මම කිව්වා බිස්නස් රෙජිස්ට්‍රේෂන් ප්‍රොසෙස් එක වෙනස් වෙනවා කියලා. මෙතනදී අපි ප්‍රධාන වශයෙන්ම සලකලා බලන්නේ කොහොමද බිස්නස් එකක් රෙජිස්ටර් කරන්නේ, මොකද්ද ඒකට අදාළ වෙන ප්‍රොසෙස් එක, ඒකෙන්දී ඉදිරිපත් කරන්න ඕන අවශ්‍ය ලියකියවිලි මොනවද, කාගාවටද ලියකියවිලි ගෙනihin දෙන්න ඕන, කොහොමද ඒ ආයතන මොනවද කියන එක ගැන තමයි මේ කොටසින් කතා කරන්න බලාපොරොත්තු වෙන්නේ. පරිපොත්වල ව්‍යාපාරයක් ගත්තොත් පළවෙනියෙන්ම කරන්න ඕන දේ තමයි ව්‍යාපාර නාමය ලියාපදිංචි කිරීමක් කරන්න ඕන. එතෙන්දී අයිතිකාරයාගේ සම්පූර්ණ නමින් ව්‍යාපාරය පවත්වාගෙන යනවා නම් එතෙන්දී ඒ ව්‍යාපාර නාමය ලියාපදිංචි කිරීමක් අවශ්‍ය වෙන්නේ නැහැ. නමුත් අයිතිකරුගේ නමින් කොටසක් අරගෙන ව්‍යාපාරය කරන්න බලාපොරොත්තු වෙනවා නම් ඒක නැත්නම් ව්‍යාපාර නාමය ලියාපදිංචි කිරීම අවශ්‍ය වෙනවා. උදාහරණයක් විදිහට අයිතිකරුගේ සම්පූර්ණ නම අමල් සේනානායක කියලා ගත්තොත් එයා අමල් සේනානායක කියන සම්පූර්ණ නමින් පවත්වාගෙන යනවා නම් එතෙන්දී ඒ ව්‍යාපාර නාමය රෙජිස්ටර් කරන්න අවශ්‍ය වෙන්නේ නැහැ. එහෙම නැත්නම් එයා අමල් කැෆේ, ස්ටාර් කැෆේ ඒ වගේ නමින් කොටසක් අරගෙන ව්‍යාපාරය කරන්න බලාපොරොත්තු වෙනවා නම් එයා ව්‍යාපාරයේ නාමය රෙජිස්ටර් කරන්න ඕනේ. සාමාන්‍යයෙන් ඉතින්දී අදාළව නීති තත්ත්වය වෙන්නේ 1918 අංක 6 දරන ව්‍යාපාර ආඥා පනත යටතේ ඒ ව්‍යාපාර නාමය රෙජිස්ටර් කරන්න ඕන. ව්‍යාපාර නාමය රෙජිස්ටර් කරාගෙන පස්සේ අපි තැන් තුනකට යන්න ඕන ඉතුරු රෙජිස්ට්‍රේෂන් ප්‍රොසෙස් එක ක්‍රියාත්මක වෙන්න. පළවෙනි තැන තමයි අදාළ ප්‍රාදේශීය ලේකම් කාර්යාලයට යන්න. ගිහිල්ලා තමන් පටන් ගන්න අදාළ අංශයට ගිහිල්ලා තමන් පටන් ගන්න බලාපොරොත්තු වෙන ව්‍යාපාර ස්වභාවය පිළිබඳ පැහැදිලි කරාම ඒගොල්ලෝ අපිට ෆෝම්ස් කිහිපයක් දෙනවා. යම්කිසි අවස්ථාවක කෙනෙකුට ෆෝම් එකක් ලැබෙන්න පුළුවන්, දෙකක් ලැබෙන්න පුළුවන්, එහෙම නැත්නම් තුනක් ඒ වගේ වැඩි ගණනක් ලැබෙන්න පුළුවන්. මම කියන්නේ ඇයි එහෙම ෆෝම්ස් එකක් ලැබෙන්නේ නැතුව කීපයක් ලැබෙන අවස්ථාවලට හේතුව මොකක්ද කියලා. සාමාන්‍යයෙන් බිස්නස් රෙජිස්ට්‍රේෂන් ෆෝම් එකට අමතරව තමන් කරන්න බලාපොරොත්තු වෙන්නේ ෆාමසි එකක්, කොස්මැටික්ස්, රෙස්ටොරන්ට් එකක් වගේ මහජන සෞඛ්‍යයට බලපාන ව්‍යාපාරයක් නම් එවැනි අවස්ථාවකදී බිස්නස් රෙජිස්ට්‍රේෂන් ෆෝම් එකට අමතරව PHI ගෙන් අප්‍රූවල් එක ගන්න අවශ්‍ය වෙන ෆෝම් එකකුත් ඔයගලන්ට ලැබෙනවා. ඊට අමතරව කාමර, නවාතැන් පහසුකම් වගේ අදාළ ඒ වගේ මේ ව්‍යාපාරයක් කරන්න බලාපොරොත්තු ඉන්න කෙනෙක් නම් එයාට අදාළ පොලිස් වසමෙන් අප්‍රූවල් එකක් ගන්න අවශ්‍ය වෙනවා. එතකොට අර බිස්නස් රෙජිස්ට්‍රේෂන් ෆෝම් එකට අමතරව ලැබෙන ෆෝම්ස් ප්‍රමාණය වෙනස් වෙන්න පුළුවන්. මේ වගේ තවත් විශේෂ අප්‍රූවල් ගන්න අවශ්‍ය ව්‍යාපාර තියෙනවා. ඊට පස්සේ බිස්නස් රෙජිස්ට්‍රේෂන් ෆෝම් එකෙන් මොනවද අපෙන් අහන්නේ කියන එක ගැන සලකලා බලුවොත් නම, ඇඩ්‍රස් එක, ව්‍යාපාරයේ ස්වභාවය, ආරම්භක ප්‍රාග්ධනය, ආරම්භක දිනය, සම්පූර්ණ නම, අයිතිකරුගේ පුරවැසිභාවය වගේ ගොඩක් බේසික් දේවල් ටිකක් තමයි එතෙන්දී අපිට බිස්නස් රෙජිස්ට්‍රේෂන් ෆෝම් එකකින් අපෙන් ඉල්ලන්නේ. මේ විදිහට බිස්නස් රෙජිස්ට්‍රේෂන් ෆෝම් එක පිරෙවුවට පස්සේ අපි ග්‍රාම නිලධාරීවරයා හමු වෙන්න ඕන. එතෙන්දී බිස්නස් රෙජිස්ට්‍රේෂන් ෆෝම් එකත් එක්ක අපිට ලියකියවිලි කිහිපයක් ඉදිරිපත් කරන්න සිද්ධ වෙනවා. අපි හිතමු තමන් ව්‍යාපාරය කරන්නේ ගෙදර. හැබැයි ඒ ගෙදර අයිතිය තමන්ට නැහැ. අපි හිතමු තාත්තට තියෙනවා කියලා. ඒ අවස්ථාවකදී අදාළ නිවසේ අයිතිකරුගෙන් ලියුමක් ගන්න ඕනේ මේ අදාළ ව්‍යාපාරය මේ නිවසේ පවත්වාගෙන යාමට මගේ කිසිදු විරෝධතාවයක් නැහැ කියලා අදාළ නිවසේ අයිතිකාරයාගේ ලියුමක් අවශ්‍ය වෙනවා. අපි හිතමු අදාළ ව්‍යාපාර ස්ථානයේ පවත්වාගෙන යන්නේ රෙන්ට් එකට ගත තැනක එහෙම නැත්නම් ලීස් කරපු තැනක කියලා. එවැනි අවස්ථාවකදී අදාළ ලීස් ඇග්‍රීමන්ට් එක හරි එහෙම නැත්නම් රෙන්ට් ඇග්‍රීමන්ට් එක හරි අදාළ කොපියක් සහතික පිටපතක් ඉදිරිපත් කරන්න ඕන. ඊට අමතරව එල්ලුම් කරුගේ ID කොපි එකක් ඉදිරිපත් කරන්න ඕන. මේ ලියකියවිලි ග්‍රාම නිලධාරීවරයාට බාර දුන්නාගෙන් පස්සේ එයාගේ ඉන්වෙස්ටිගේෂන් එකක් කරනවා. මේ ලිඛිතව දීලා තියෙන කරුණු කාරණා ඇත්තටම සිද්ධ කරනවාද කියලා එයා ඇවිල්ලා පරීක්ෂා කරනවා. ඒ පරීක්ෂා කරාට පස්සේ අපිට ග්‍රාම නිලධාරීවරයාගෙන් අප්‍රූවල් එක ගන්න පුළුවන්. ඒ කාරණා සියල්ලම ඉවරුණාට පස්සේ අදාළ ලියකියවිලි ඔක්කොම ආපහු නැවත ප්‍රාදේශීය ලේකම් කාර්යාලයට බාර දෙන්න ඕන. ඒ බාර දුන්නාගෙන් පස්සේ නියමිත කාල සීමාවකට පස්සේ අපිට බිස්නස් රෙජිස්ට්‍රේෂන් සර්ටිෆිකේට් එක ගන්න පුළුවන්. ඒ තමයි තනි පුද්ගල ව්‍යාපාරයක් ලියාපදිංචි කිරීමට අදාළ නෛතික කාර්යපරිපාලනය. ඊළඟට පාර්ට්නර්ෂිප් එකක් ගැන කතා කළොත් පාර්ට්නර්ෂිප් ගැන කිව්වොත් එතන සඳහන් කරන විශේෂ කාරණාව තමයි පාර්ට්නර්ෂිප් එකක අවම සමාජික සංඛ්‍යාව 2යි උපරිම සමාජික සංඛ්‍යාව 20යි. පාර්ට්නර්ෂිප් එකක් ගැන කියනකොට තවත් සඳහන් කරන විශේෂ කාරණාවක් තමයි පාර්ට්නර්ෂිප් ඇග්‍රීමන්ට් එක ගැන. මිනිස්සු අතර වාර්ෂික එකඟතා පිළිබඳ විශ්වාසය තියන්න බෑ. මිනිස්සු කාලෙන් කාලයට වෙනස් වෙනවා, තමන්ගේ ප්‍රතිපත්ති වෙනස් කරනවා. ඒ හේතුව නිසා මිනිසුන් අතර විශේෂයෙන්ම මේ අවදානමක් අරගෙන කරන ව්‍යාපාරයකදී ඒ වගේ වාචික එකඟතාව මත කටයුතු කරොත් අනාගතයේ දුෂ්කරතාවලට ගැටලු වලට මුහුණ දෙන්න පුළුවන්. ඒ නිසා හවුල් ව්‍යාපාරයකදී කරන්න ඕන ප්‍රධාන දේ තමයි වාචික එකඟ වීම නැතුව ලිඛිතව තමන් කරන ව්‍යාපාරය පිළිබඳව එකඟතාවක් ඇති කරගන්න. ඒ ලියවිල්ල තමයි ඒ ලිඛිත එකඟ වීම ඇතුළත් ලියවිල්ල තමයි මේ පාර්ට්නර්ෂිප් ඇග්‍රීමන්ට් එක කියලා කියන්නේ. සාමාන්‍යයෙන් ප්‍රාග්ධනයේ සම්පාදනය කරන ආකාරය, ලාභ බෙදලා යන ආකාරය, හවුල්කරුවන්ගේ වගකීම් මොනවද, හවුල් ව්‍යාපාරයෙන් යම්කිසි හවුල්කරුවෙක් ඉවත් වෙනවා නම් කොහොමද ඉවත් වෙන්නේ කොහොමද කියන ඒ වගේ කාරණා තමයි මේ හවුල් ගිවිසුම එහෙම නැත්නම් පාර්ට්නර්ෂිප් ඇග්‍රීමන්ට් එකේ ඇතුළත් වෙන්නේ. හවුල් ව්‍යාපාරයක නම මුලින්ම ලියාපදිංචි කරන්න ඕන. එතනදී Department of Business Name Registration කියන ආයතනයට ගිහිල්ලා මේ ව්‍යාපාර නාමය අපිට රෙජිස්ටර් කරන්න පුළුවන්. මෙතනදී ඉතුරු කාරණා සියල්ලම අර තනි පුද්ගල ව්‍යාපාරයක් ලියාපදිංචි කිරීමේදී අපි අනුගමනය කරන ක්‍රියාපටිපාටිය හා සමාන වෙනවා. ඒ නිසා මම ඒක දීර්ඝ වශයෙන් විස්තර කරන්නේ නැහැ. ඊට පස්සේ යම්කිසි අවස්ථාවක උපරිම සමාජික සංඛ්‍යාව 20කට වැඩි වෙනවා නම් අපිට හවුල් ව්‍යාපාරයක් විදිහට ඒ ව්‍යාපාරය පවත්වාගෙන යන්න බෑ. එවැනි අවස්ථාවකදී යන අනිත් විකල්පය තමයි ප්‍රයිවට් ලිමිටඩ් කම්පැනි එකක් විදිහට රෙජිස්ටර් කරන එක. ප්‍රයිවට් ලිමිටඩ් කම්පැනි එකක් රෙජිස්ටර් කරන පිළිවෙල ගත්තොත් අනිත් දෙකටම හා සාපේක්ෂව ගත්තොත් දැන් තියෙන තාක්ෂණයත් එක්ක අපිට ඔන්ලයින් පහසුකම් යටතේ ඒක රෙජිස්ටර් කරන්න හැකියාව තියෙනවා. ඒ නිසා රස්තිය අඩු වෙන්නේ නැතුව අපිට ඒ දේවල් කරගන්න පුළුවන්. ප්‍රයිවට් ලිමිටඩ් කම්පැනි එකක ලියාපදිංචි කිරීමේ කටයුතු සිද්ධ වෙන්නේ සමාගම් මැදුර හරහා. ඒ යටතේ අපිට EROC වෙබ්සයිට් එකට ලොග් වෙලා ඒකට වෙනම account එකක් හදලා ඒ අදාළ කටයුතු කරන්න පුළුවන්. මෙතනදී පළවෙනියටම අදාළ ප්‍රයිවට් ලිමිටඩ් කම්පැනි එකට අපි දාන බලාපොරොත්තු වෙන නම මොකක්ද කියන එක තීරණය කරලා ඒ නමට අප්‍රූවල් එක ගන්න සිද්ධ වෙනවා. මේ විදිහට නමට අප්‍රූවල් එක ගන්න දෙන හේතුව ගැන සඳහන් කරොත් දැනටමත් අපි අපේ කම්පැනි එකට දාන්න බලාපොරොත්තු වෙන නමෙන් තවත් කම්පැනි එකක් සංස්ථාපනය කරලා තියෙනවද කියන එක තමයි එතනදී ඒගොල්ලෝ සැලකලා බලන්නේ. යම්කිසි අවස්ථාවක අපි යෝජනා කරපු නමේ යම්කිසි ගැටලුවක් තිබුණොත් ඒගොල්ලෝ අපේ application එක reject කරනවා. එවැනි අවස්ථාවකදී ඒ reject කරන්න හේතුව දක්වලා ඒගොල්ලෝ notification එකක් අපිට එනවා. එතකොට ඒ ඇයි හේතුව මොකද්ද මේ ප්‍රතික්ෂේප කරන්න මේක දක්වලා තියෙන නිසා අපිට ඒ අනුව හදලා ආපහු resubmit කරන්න පුළුවන්. මෙතන තව කාරණාවක් තියෙනවා. ඉන්කෝපරේෂන් සර්ටිෆිකේට් එක ඉෂුව කරද්දී ඒගොල්ලෝ භාෂා තුනෙම සිංහල ඉංග්‍රීසි දෙමළ කියන භාෂා තුනෙන්ම ව්‍යාපාර නාමය සඳහන් කිරීමක් කරනවා. ඒ නිසා අපි නේම් අප්‍රූවල් එක ගන්න අවස්ථාවේදී අදාළ ඉල්ලුම් කිරීමේදී භාෂා තුනෙන්ම අපි ගන්න බලාපොරොත්තු වෙන යෝජනා කරන නම ඉදිරිපත් කිරීමක් සඳහන් කිරීමක් කරන්න අවශ්‍ය වෙනවා. ඊළඟට තියෙන ડોකියුමන්ටේෂන් ප්‍රොසෙස් එක. එතනදී ප්‍රධාන ෆෝම්ස් 3ක් එක්ක ආටිකල්ස් ඔෆ් ඇසෝසියේෂන් එහෙම නැත්නම් සමාගමේ සාංගමික ව්‍යවස්ථාවලිය ඉදිරිපත් කිරීමක් කරන්න ඕන. මෙතනදී ෆෝම් 1 එකෙන් කරන්නේ කම්පැනි නේම් එක ඇඩ්‍රස් එක වගේ කම්පැනි එක සම්බන්ධ දේවල්. ෆෝම් 18 එකේ ඩිරෙක්ටර්ස්ලා කන්සෙන්ට් එකත් ෆෝම් 19 එකෙන් කම්පැනි සෙක්‍රටරිගේ කන්සෙන්ට් එකත් අදාළ කරගන්න. මෙතනදී කම්පැනි සෙක්‍රටරි ගැන මම සඳහන් කරපු නිසා ඒ කම්පැනි සෙක්‍රටරි කෙනෙක් ඕනි කියන එකත් මෙතනදීම මම සඳහන් කරන්න. කම්පැනි එකක් පවත්වාගෙන යාමේදී අනිකුත් ව්‍යාපාර දෙකට සාපේක්ෂව වැඩි නෛතික රාමුවකට යටත් වීමක් සිද්ධ වෙනවා. ඒ වගේම ඩිරෙක්ටර්ස්ලා පත් කිරීම වලදී ඩොකියුමන්ටේෂන්ස් වැඩ රිසොලූෂන් පාස් කරන්න එහෙම නැත්නම් මිනිත් බුක් එකක් මේන්ටේන් කරන්න ෂෙයා රෙජිස්ට්‍රි එකක් පවත්වාගෙන යන්න ඇනුවල් රිටර්න් එකක් පවත්වාගෙන යන්න ඒ වගේ නෛතික කටයුතු වල සියල්ලම මේ සිද්ධ වෙන්නේ මේ කම්පැනි සෙක්‍රටරි හරහා මේ ෆෝම්ස් හැම එකක්ම අපිට ඔන්ලයින් සබ්මිට් කරන්න පුළුවන් ආටිකල්ස් ඔෆ් ඇසෝසියේෂන් විතරයි අපිට මැනුවලි හදලා අප්ලෝඩ් කරන්න ඕනේ එතෙන්දී කම්පැනි එක පවත්වාගෙන යාමේදී අනුගමනය කරන්න නීති රීති තමයි මේ ආටිකල්ස් ඔෆ් ඇසෝසියේෂන් එකේ සඳහන් වෙන්නේ. ඒ කියන්නේ ඩිරෙක්ටර්ස්ලා, ෂෙයා හෝල්ඩර්ස්ලා පත් කරන ආකාරය, ෂෙයාස් ඉෂුව කරන විදිහ, ෂෙයා ට්‍රාන්ස්ෆර් කරනවා නම් ඒකට ඒ අදාළ ක්‍රියාපටිපාටිය සිද්ධ වෙන ආකාරය ඒ වගේ දේවල් තමයි මේ ආටිකල්ස් ඔෆ් ඇසෝසියේෂන් වල සඳහන් වෙන්නේ. මේ ආටිකල්ස් ඔෆ් ඇසෝසියේෂන් එහෙම නැත්නම් සාංගමික ව්‍යවස්ථාවලිය 2007 අංක 7 දරන සමාගම් පනතට අනුකූලව අපි කෙටුම්පත් කරන එක අවශ්‍ය වෙනවා. මෙතනදී සඳහන් කරන්න ඕනේ මේ හැමදේම ඔන්ලයින් අපිට සබ්මිට් කරන්න පුළුවන්, පේමන්ට්ස් ඔන්ලයින් කරන්න පුළුවන්. ඒක අනිත් ක්‍රම දෙකටම සාපේක්ෂව අපිට වාසියක් විදිහට ගන්න පුළුවන්. ඊට අමතරව ක්‍රියාපටිපාටිය ගැන සලකලා බලනකොට අනිකුත් දෙකට සාපේක්ෂව ටිකක් සංකීර්ණ භාවයක් ගැන පෙනී යනවා. නමුත් මෙතනදී අපිට ලැබෙන වාසිය වෙන්නේ කම්පැනි එකක් රෙජිස්ටර් කරාගෙන් පස්සේ කම්පැනි එක වෙනම ලීගල් එන්ටිටි එකක් විදිහට සැලකෙනවා. වෙනම නෛතික පුද්ගලයෙක් විදිහට සැලකෙනවා. ඒ හින්දා අයිතිකරුවන්ගේ කම්පැනි එක වෙනම විදිහට තමයි සැලකන්නේ. මේ තොරතුරු දෙක මම හිතනවා ඔයගලන්ට කම්පැනි රෙජිස්ට්‍රේෂන් පිළිබඳව යම්කිසි අවබෝධයක් එන්නේ නැති කියලා කොක් හරි ගැටලුවක් තියෙනවා නම් Q&A සෙෂන් එකේදී ඒ ගැන සාකච්ඡා කරමු.
Thank you very much, Ms. Hashini. And also, I would like to mention that we are doing these workshops in both languages upon the request of participants as well. So that it would be easier for both for people who are fluent in both languages to understand, so that we have the slides in English. And if possible, we are trying to accommodate Sinhala language as well. So if you have any concerns, do reach out to us. And since we are uploading all these workshops onto our YouTube channel, we may be able to look into facilitating both languages, which will be easy for all of you. So now we are moving on to our next speaker, Mr. Akalanka Ranathunga. Sir, over to you.
Thanks, Hashini. Thank you very much. Good evening to everyone. Vinori, I need a confirmation or a thumbs up whether I am audible and visible.
Yes, audible and visible.
All right. I will share some of the slides also. Is it visible?
Yeah, it is.
All right. Okay. So the topic is on the legal aspects and the implications of that, and the part of it is the interorganizational strategy, because I wanted to cover somewhat practical aspect pertaining to this legal contracting and come in the form registration and all those things. One thing, doing the business on the other aspect, the entrepreneurship, the real practical applications, why you require that, why will you require a business to be registered, the validity of a contracting, why it is important, all those things. I said entrepreneurship is all about putting so many heads together, and it's interconnected. It's a complicated thing, and all we appreciate the entrepreneurship because it's a hard thing. It's a bold call. And what do you know about networking? And I told this entrepreneurship is a contextual thing because you can put it into any context. I want the audience to be interactive that day also. How will you say what the networking is?
How you build connections between other people or other businesses or entities that's related to it?
Yeah, it has some aspect of it, but sometimes it can be forcefully done, some conscious decision, and it can happen without any conscious thing. As networking is all about that. We are having the connection in the society. Even if you go to the society, you have the connections. Even at home, you have these connections. How you build this the people around you, the people surrounding you, how you will build the circles. And in context of the entrepreneurship, it's saying is the number one unwritten rule in success of any business. Whether you are going to start up a business or whether you are in the operation of a business, whether you are running a business right now, is the number one unwritten rule in success. You may apply all the theories, all the models, you may have the financing and everything, but for the success, the effectiveness of the business, there is a huge contribution coming from the networking side. I will talk about the network and the organization strategy, and then move forward to the legal aspect of it, getting the legal contracting and all those things. Since you have a lawyer, I think we can get more insights about that as we proceed. And in terms of the entrepreneurship, the networking is creating and maintaining those social relationships. In a way, you get the assistance for your business operations through those social relationships. That's your attaining your business objectives or running your day-to-day operations or whatever the aspect of it. And as for one of the research I mentioned, there are 78% of startups, networking is absolutely necessary for entrepreneurship success. So anyway, nowadays we all are connected, and any organization cannot think of surviving alone, and the resources are scarce, and nobody can hold all the resources and the capabilities. So it's essential that you depend on somebody else also for your business, not only for your living subsistence, but also for your business, for the subsistence of the business, for the growth of the business. You have to depend on others. In the organizational strategy, in the concept of the organizational strategy, it's all about how you select your stakeholders and how you build relationship with these stakeholders and how you manage this. When you say these stakeholders, those are the external ones, external stakeholders in the interorganizational strategy, how you deal with other organizations, how you manage the relationships with the other organizations, how you get them to support your business, to register, to start a business, to register and to run, and for others, how you get the support from them. And let me check, there is one chat. All right, and in terms of this networking and in terms of the interorganization relationship management, it's not only other businesses. It can be the regulators, it can be the other government authorities, it can be even the police station in there, it may be the adjoining shop, maybe the neighborhood, maybe the neighbors. Now you want to run a factory or something, how will you deal with the surrounding environment? And all those things you have to take into consideration when you are going to start a business. What sort of impact it will have to the neighborhood, what sort of impact it will have to the immediate circle of the people, and then how we are going to manage them, how we are going to build a relationship with them, and what sort of support you will require from the external stakeholders, and how you will get that support for you. And entrepreneurs, say it's obvious, the entrepreneurs are leaders. So I know most of you have done some of those learning on some of those leadership models, theories, traits, qualities. And on the entrepreneurship is all about you have to apply whatever the types that you have learned, what you have, the traits you have learned, what are the qualities that you have learned. You have to apply all those. And in that case, you have to be always situational, and you have to read the situation. Sometimes you may apply a different context in dealing with one organization, one external party, and you will apply a different, you will have to apply a different trait, different quality, different approach in terms of managing some other organization, some other stakeholder. So it's very contextual. It's complicated in a way. And but it's been situational. And I think you all may have heard of emotional intelligence, EI. Can someone tell what does EI mean to you? What is meant by EI? What is meant by emotional intelligence? I prefer this to be a little more interactive, at least if it is not fully interactive. Have you heard of EI?
There's an answer in the chat box saying
Managing emotions. It's beyond that, logically. You have to definitely manage your emotions.
I know
Emotional
the
intelligence is
definition.
Sorry? Yeah. Sorry?
I know the definition. Am I allowed to?
Yeah, of course. Please.
Emotional intelligence, by its definition, means the ability to understand your own emotions and those of who you work with in order to attain the business objectives. In order to meet the business objectives, you are understanding your own emotions and those around you. It also has something called, it was a term coined by Goldman. You have competencies of EI. So
since you mentioned about the Goldman, it has 4 quadrants to it. And actually, it's not just the understanding of the emotions. It's true.
You need to have empathy towards others, need to be able to communicate effectively with others and see things from their perspective rather than your own. And on top of it, you need to be able to manage your own emotions. Like, have to have self-control and determination.
I would say, firstly, it's about the self-awareness as well as the social awareness. And then how, in a way, how you manage your emotions, that you manage the relationship effectively, and you bring out your best as well as you take out whatever the outcome that you want from the others, from the society. Now, in the management of the networking and the relationship management, in building the relationships, even in the inter-organization strategy, these things are applied. It may not be taught as a complex whole thing, but you would have learned all these aspects separately as separate disciplines. But when it's come to entrepreneurship, as I said that last time also, it's a complex thing that you have to apply all those you're learning together. And that's where you have to be more skillful and more strategical compared to others. As a leader, any entrepreneur is a leader, and in the entrepreneurship level, you have to be strategical. That means you have to drive for long-term objectives while taking care of the day-to-day operations, financial stability, ensuring you address the risk properly then and there, and you foresee some of the risk and right now take the course for that. And that's being strategic. In being strategic, one of the key things, especially in the managing the inter-organization relations and the strategy, is inter-organization strategy is having this EI. Well, the point that I want to highlight is you may have learned all those things, and you have to think yourselves when you're going to apply it in the practice. Because in academics and the academic world, you can learn the disciplines separately. But when it comes to practice, it doesn't allow you to apply them separately. You have to take it as a whole, one gamut of things, and apply together. And is there anything to be asked on the networking and the inter-relation strategy and is linked to the entrepreneurship? Anything to be clarified? So I'll move on. And networks can be formal or informal. And now, suppose you get the support, financial, and we talk about that access to finance last time. And this financial assistance may come from your from the informal network, where you don't go and sign any contract or anything, but your parents going to give you some money as the seed capital, the capital that you require to start the business. And your friends may support you, your relations may support you. Those networks are the informal ones. You have the friends, and I know all of you should have had should be using some sort of a social media and some sort of a presence you should be having right now, even in the social media and using those platforms. And then you have the formal things that you get into some legal contracts and some bindings and with the other organizations, maybe it's for the value chain, maybe with the supply chain, maybe a borrowing from a formal financial sector, then there will be the contract coming, and you may get into networks in that aspect, the formal. I didn't use the inter-organization strategy in much of a way as it has a more weight. I just want to keep it simple, considering the level, considering the audience and thinking that it's for startup and starting small. And there is a question as I further go on. I will answer that on Maher now. And so I mentioned inter-organization strategy is so vital. It's to getting off of the ground as well as business growth, because this network provide you the growth opportunities, new business opportunities, and it provide the advice. And suppose I produce something new and I want to go to the market. First thing is I can check how the response will be from the just I may post something in the Facebook page, I may get the response. Maybe I just share it through WhatsApp or something with my friend in the WhatsApp group or friends, and the response I can check the market in a way. And also to build awareness, marketing, branding, these networks can be used effectively. And the synergies, enthusiasm that bring, because there can be common enthusiasm if you go and just look for the same sort of entrepreneur aspect or the same sort of a thinking aspect in the social media, internet, and you can find the same people. Even you find in the society itself, some of the circles, maybe some exporters themselves get together and build some circles. Development board itself sometimes promote creating those circles. There are regional industrial circles. And if you get a membership, or even you just attend a seminar, or just attend one of their get-togethers, outing, whatever, you create the network with the people having same thinking line, same enthusiasm, and you can learn a lot of things from them. Some of them have for sure gone through the hard path, and you can learn the outcomes of it. As I told, any entrepreneurial journey is unique, as I mentioned last time, but the learnings from the other will ease your journey. And through the networking, influence decision-making, improve efficiency, and these are more towards the inter-organization strategy. When you partner with other organizations, suppose I am into IT sector, I'm into IT and I develop something. I want content marketing or something. I may get in the same IT sector though, but I will work with some agency doing that. And rather than building that capability myself, just despite being in the IT sector, just building that capability myself, I can easily go to someone doing that. And that will improve efficiency, and they will give me insights and will ease the work of decision making, and same will promote the business efficiency. Then right now knowledge is abundant. You have the access to many means. It's freely available. Compared to maybe a decade ago, it wasn't the same case, but right now it's a spillover. I think in some aspects it's more than required, freely available. Because of that, the people can't limit themselves. What is the level that I need to demarcate? Okay, beyond that level, I will not look for any more knowledge. So that's the only challenge it has shown. Otherwise, it has shown so much of positive things. You have free access, so much of learning, and it happens through this network. You learn not only the related things, but what can be the impacted thing, because there are always, when you are into entrepreneurship and when you're going to do something, there is always the direct impacted segment, direct impacted people, or the market that you target. But also there are dependent ones. Also there are who's going to influence these, whoever the buyers you target. And all those things, the knowledge comes freely and easily. Now it's available. It's spillovers, learning opportunity. Another thing, it gives you the confidence. When you are in a network, you do something, you present something, you speak about your product, you speak about your service, you know how to pitch something, even a business plan or something before you're going to pitch it to. You can try it with the network and get their ideas, and you get the confidence required. And as an entrepreneur, you need to back your product, you need to back your service, you need to be sure about what you do, and that confidence comes through the networking. And of course, acceleration of business growth, because opportunities, the new markets, and sometimes the network, people in the network may suggest you the changes, the best practices that you can do. And I know mostly with entrepreneurs, maybe it's a property that they do the business or the office premises, and even other the vehicles required for the business, or all those things. At the initial stage, you find them through the referrals, the people in the immediate network, the people that you know. So they influence at the startup level. Even the people that who going to help you out with the technology, finance, any other mean, they will have their say. So they will influence. Your network will definitely influence. And they have the power of taking your business to the level that you inspire faster than you think also. Anything to be clarified? And there is discussion, the formal and informal. And when you take the inter-organization strategy, there are formal networks, like you enter into a contract with suppliers, you enter into contracts with buyers, maybe even with regard to if you are going to hire some people, if you enter into a contract and you have some agreements and arrangements, those are called formal. And that become a formal network if you consider the business. On the other side, there can be an informal network, like you test out your things in your personal Facebook page. You have your followers, your friends, your circles, your friends, and they become automatically an informal network for you, giving some advice, some probably giving ideas. And if you want to try out something with them, you can throw the idea, you can send the products, give the service, and it acts as an informal network. And there are so many businesses done on verbal agreement, just on the friendship, just on the relationship, or based on the knowing each other. It may be renting a place, and that becomes an informal network for the business. And I will pin something, Mahendra, for this inter-organization strategy. It's a broad thing. And when it comes to business, it said you need to think like everyone is an enemy in paper, but everyone is a friend. You have to treat like everybody as a friend in person when it comes to starting a business, especially in running the business. It's the same case. Because why it is said like that is, as it is recommended as far as possible to get into contracts. Whenever you do a commercial dealing, you do a business. At the first point of view, at the time of your executing a contract or entering into a contract, you may not have the same level of demand. It can be little disadvantageous to you compared to the other person, because it's a comparative thing. When you enter into a contract, it can be 50-50, it can be 40-60. Somebody will have higher advantages or upper hand over it. Given your position, given your power, the level of demand, the power that you have over it, it may be little advantage, but in the long run, when you consider it, it will be definitely at least a 50-50 scenario, because you need to have the peace of mind as an entrepreneur. You don't want to get into trouble as you go along the way. And as I said, so every relationship, and the other point is, I want to link this to the EI, just because of that. Now your parents may go and somebody may get the funds from the parents to start the business. Tomorrow don't go and say, okay, we had a workshop, so mom, dad, you need to enter into a contract for this. That's why you need to apply your EI, your emotional intelligence. You need to understand the context of it, whether to have to enter into a contract or not. But in doing a business, as far as possible, it's said in commercial terms, for each and every relationships, it's always better to get into a contract, because you never know. People can change, things can change, economy can change. Just imagine that you start a factory or start a business and on a place or a premises taken on just a verbal agreement. You request somebody and he gives, and you think, okay, I'll pay this much of amount monthly basis. In the 2 months down the line, you do some other investments, you do some other capital investment, probably you may furnish it, And in the 2 months down the line, if that person asks back that property, maybe he may not be in the wrong intention, but even if he suffers, if he has some financial problems, he may have to get it back. Then if he asks for that, if he asks for the property back, you are in trouble. In 2 months' time, you now have a different problem to focus, different war. Entrepreneurship is a big battle. It's within the battle, you have to select which wars I need to fight. You have to fight in the market. You have to compete with the other suppliers. You have to compete to capture market, capture customers, and the marketing aspect, and the advertising to drive your efficiency with the workforce. If you are going to work with the workforce, if it's alone, you are in a battle, how you're going to allocate your time management, then your other personal things, how you get the things flowing with regard to your business while attending the personal things. So you're in a big battle. During this big battle, you have to select which wars you have to take. You can't have all the wars. And in entrepreneurship, in a business strategy, it said that you need to plan to win the battle, not to win every war. It doesn't require you to win every war, but your big focus should be to win the battle. So you have your aspirations, you have your goals, you know where you want to go. And in that battle, those are small wars that will take your energy out. If it doesn't really fall into the pieces as you wish, if they are not in line with your big battle, now suppose you find a supplier and you think, okay, he's going to continue the supply of maybe raw material, maybe the finished product itself that you're going to use for your business. And all of a sudden, if that one's stop it and going to start it with somebody else, you're in trouble. You would have started business, you have put capital, you have done all the hard work, marketing, setting it up, communication, all those things. All of a sudden now you are in trouble code. But that's where this legal cover comes to you. That's where you need to think, okay, it can be an enemy. May it be your best friend that you're going to start the business with. Who knows? If the business goes well, he can take a different path. If the business doesn't go well, still you can take a different path. But for your business objective or business goal, will it be the same thing? I don't think it will be the same thing. So as much as possible, enter into contracts is something that entrepreneurs has to keep in mind. You adapt your EI, contextual wisdom, and common sense with whom you need to do that. And at the first instance itself, it will look disadvantageous to you, but you have to consider the present and future aspects. The probable determines if you don't get into that. The uncertainty is going to be covered for sure, and this big battle should be your focus. In that case, how I can escape some of the wars, some unnecessary conflicts, some unnecessary battles, some unnecessary argument is something entrepreneurs always have to consider. And some of the salient contracts with regard to the businesses, especially startup businesses, it is not just limited to this. These are basic ones, and the salient ones. There will be many more based on the venture you are into, context of it, the business, and the parties that you are going to get involved with. And some of those are employment contracts, then the confidentiality agreements, invention assignments. If you're going to invent something, then the letter of intent, something just stating the sales or purchase agreement, content of it, and then product and services agreement, refund policy, how we are going to refund is something to be written. And then the leases and tenancy agreement, if you're going to rent out a place, if you're going to rent out a property, and the facility agreements, if you're going to take facility. In the informal borrowing, sometimes you may not have any agreements, but as much as possible, just enter into it. If somebody gives you money and in the month's time, if he comes and asks for the money, you haven't made anything out of it, you have to find, all of a sudden, you have to stop doing your business and you need to find means to settle that person. Even if you have at least written something that, okay, I'll settle in 6 months, I'll settle in 12 months, you have a time. And that's where how you mitigate your risk, hedge your risk in contextual way. Then the intellectual property agreements. And I think intellectual property is one of the key things that is to be covered. I will touch a little bit on that as we progress. Any questions? Any clarifications required? So I said, so as much as possible, entering into contract is the advice thing. And you have to apply your contextual wisdom in application of this, though. A contract is basically a promise enforceable by law. And the promise may be to do something or not to do something. That is to refrain from doing something. And it's a mutual obligation enforceable. So in a contract, it happens, somebody offers it, somebody accepted. So it can be both party agrees upon. Just an example is the one which is shown, which is displayed is just an example. And I will not go in detail these legal jargons and legal things. And the 4 requirements for a contract to be enforceable, you can Google and see even what should be in a contract, what should be a specimen for a contract. These things are important. And of course, the mutual agreement between the 2 parties for a contract. Of course, how many parties do you require for a contract? Can single party enter into a contract? Yeah, 2 is the minimum. It can be 2 or more. The minimum is 2. And then the consideration, which is the promise, and then the contractual capacity, whether the parties have the capacity to enter into it, and the lawful objects. The purpose of the contract must be legal, and how unlawful act or violation can be void. And then the intellectual, I told you I will touch a little bit on the intellectual property. Here also I will not go in detail. And it's the creation of the mind, such invention, literacy, artwork, and the trademark, patent, design, symbols, and mainly there are 4 types of intellectual property: copyrights, trademarks, patent, and business secrets. And I don't think in Sri Lankan legal context, business secrets are covered. But in some of the legislation, even the business secrets are covered, trade secrets. Sometimes, how many of you are employed? Have you ever signed a statement of confidence or something stating will not divulge the business formulas, business secrets, trade secrets? So in Sri Lanka, this is a related act, and I will share through this link for the record purpose, and it gives some guidance. Not necessary to get everything that you require for this, but if you have something that you can consider as intellectual property, may it be a patent, a new inventive thing or innovative thing, or it be a trademark or something related to business identity, then firstly identify your intellectual property. You need to know what is intellectual property. Then make sure you own that IP, whether it is owned by the previous employers, may it be from a business that you are going to start again, whether it's owned by them, previously owned something, or you get this idea from looking at various things through internet, whether they are true owners, some areas, then research your IP, whether I mean the ownership as well as the application of it. And then they'll get legal advice over it, select from your lawyers, and select IP battles. What I mentioned here is, now you are going to start a business. It's a new thing, it's an innovative thing. And these are registering intellectual property takes time for sure. It takes, their SLAs given by the Sri Lanka Property Institute, I think. They have their own timelines, and it will take 1 year, 18 months, 3 years sometime. But you have now you are entering into a commercial business. You need to make money every month. You can't just wait 3 years or 18 months until you are in IP, get registered and comes under your name. It's not the case. So you had to select. But if your business itself is building this patent or building this IP, that's the paramount thing. So your battle is to get this IP registered. But if it's a small thing that you're doing and the trademarks and everything, if you just wait them to be registered and come to you, you are missing out the time until that time. unless otherwise you have absorbers. I mean, the financial backing, then the backing of the other resources, okay, you can sustain, otherwise you will be out of the market. The entrepreneurship is all about subsisting, sustaining in the market, being valid and being relevant to the market. And what is mentioned here is you have to select, okay, is it me to get, is so important to get this IP registered, and which one is so important to get registered, which one, if we wait for the registration or some of the things, we may not be able to run the business. In that case, what we need to let go for the moment and run the business, and that aspect. And then the IP, now you get these stakeholders, people in the network, in the organization strategy involved with your work. And then how you're going to protect it from your investors, employees, contractors, and the other stakeholders that you're going to deal with. And doing registration in the Sri Lankan context is one thing, and how we are going to protect it globally is also something that you will have to consider if you're going to really look at in this intellectual property aspect. And by registering an intellectual property, it will be yours, and there are the recognition coming through it, and there are monetary gains also in terms of the, especially in case of the patent registrations, that you get the monetary gains through it whenever, wherever it's sold. So that, with that, I will just stop running the slides, open for any Q&A, not just limiting to the slide strand, and whatever the things that you have in connection to linking these to the other areas covered so far, may it be the business planning, even whatever the topics that are going to be covered in the other sessions, I will try to link much as possible and give you the answers and clarifications and elaborations if you have anything to be clarified.
Yes, before we move on to the Q&A session, give us a minute of your time for our banking partner, BOC. Meanwhile, you can put your questions in the chat box or be ready with your questions.
Now all my bill payments are right at my fingertips.
I'm in touch with my BOC card whenever, wherever.
BOC Smart Online Banking creates time for the important things in life, while your banking is done securely with ease and speed, wherever you may be.
Vinuli, there are a couple of questions posted in the chat box. Shall I proceed giving some responses there? Yeah. One is how to choose your network appropriately. And entrepreneurship, as I told last time also, there is no right or wrong answer. It all depends on the context with whom you can partner to get their support, assistance for your business, for starting it up as well as the business growth. And in your immediate circle, you will find the people who are going to help you most. And if they don't have the resources and the capacity, of course, you have to look for others. And the appropriate ways, and when you talk about these inter-organizational strategies or networks, or especially in terms of entrepreneurship, the main thing is it has to be a win-win thing. In that context, there are 4 scenarios that can be applied: win-win, win-lose, lose-win, or lose-lose. And in normal strategy, normal business world, all those 4 you can find it out, you can see it. But in a relationship, in networking, try to make it as win-win as much as possible, because you are in a starting point, you have to win. And since you are in a starting age, early stage, others will not just come to lose. They may come in the expecting to lose if you are well established and your demanding power is high. So these are contextual things, as I told. But the first thing you have to consider is it a win-win thing, whether you are going to win. By entering into that relationship, what will you come out of it? And sometimes you may have no other option. For marketing, may it be, for financing, may it be, maybe advisory, other aspects, finding the right legal partner sometimes, legal advisory sometimes, you will have to enter into some network or enter into some relationship. And the other thing is, can you tell the basic difference formula I mentioned? Yeah, As I mentioned earlier, inter-organization strategy is how you build your stakeholders to support your business, and what sort of a role you will play, and what sort of a role they will have to play in terms of that. Now, you can't do any business alone, for sure. You can't do any business alone. Somewhere down the line, if it is something commercial, you need some support from other organizations. You need some support from other entities. So how you alliance, how you deal with these other organizations, how you get these organizations and your organization, your entity, or maybe yourself, to work together to attain a common object. That's simply the inter-organization strategy. Just those two questions, If there are any other questions or any other areas relating to entrepreneurship or strategy or anything, I can answer based on whatever that I know. And our lawyer is also there. So if there is anything related to legal aspects, law, particular things you need to look at in terms of legal, in terms of the law.
And also don't hesitate to use single language as well, as Ms. Hashini explained in
Yeah,
as
of course.
well. And also you can direct your questions in the chat box, or you can unmute yourself and ask. So both of the speakers are here. So if you want to ask any question from Mr. Akalanka as well as Ms. Hashini, both are here to answer your questions. And yeah, this time is reserved for that. Also, this is a personal question that I have. When it comes to, I've studied a little bit about law which related to my degree program as well. And I was under the impression that intellectual property mainly goes mostly under entertainment industry when it comes to copyrights and such. So what exactly, how important is intellectual property in the aspect of entrepreneurship, and how can we protect, as in more insight into that?
Yeah, copyright is ultimately the ownership over the authority. It can be a book, it can be entertainment stuff, as you mentioned, and that can be a copyright pertaining to a business idea. You have a business plan and something, if you want to register it as a copyright, but only thing is you have to ensure the ownership of it and your claim for that copyright, your part for it. And Hashini is there, so
when it comes to business idea as well, we can subject it under that. If it's like particularly a creative idea that
it's the ownership of the authority. Just like trademarks is for anything, that you can use the trademark for business also, and you can go register it. You have as your one of intellectual property, you can register it.
Okay, there's a question.
Now even in IT aspect, there are so much of intellectual properties coming in, especially in the context of the IT, because you deal in mostly with intangible things. Have you seen websites carrying the copyrights down there? In normal websites, have you seen at copyright something statements? I'm asking from you, Vinuri.
Not very much familiar.
Oh yeah. When you Google next time, just go to whatever the page and see what does it say at copyright something it has.
Oh.
If you start a business as a sole trader, can you still file for intellectual property right, or is it for private and PLC limited company? No, you can do it under your personal name even. That can be done under personal name even.
If there are any questions related to the processes of business registration, Ms. Hashini described, this is your time to clarify if there's anything. There's one more question. Is it compulsory?
I will ask something from Hashini since nobody asked. Hashini, ඔයාට කියන්න පුළුවන් intellectual property වල තියෙන තව මොනවා හරි laws in detail, contract එකක legal validity එකකදී බලන්න ඕනි දේවල්. contract එකක legal validity and in detail තව මොනවා හරි content එකට එන්න ඕනිද මොනවාද බලන්නේ කොහොමද අලුතෙන් business එක පටන් ගද්දි contracts වල validity එකට ensure කරගන්නේ ඒ පැත්ත
contract ගැන කතා කරද්දී ප්‍රධානම දේ තමයි ඒක written වෙන්න ඕනි කියන එක. එහෙම නැතුව වාචික එකඟතාවක් තිබුණා කියලා අපිට court law එකකදී court house එකකදී අපිට ඒක ඔප්පු කරන්න ඔප්පු කරන්න අවස්ථාවක් නැහැ. ඒ නිසා හැම වෙලාවකම ඒ අපි එන parties එක ඇති කරගන්න contract එක written contract එකක් වෙන්න ඕන කියන එක තමයි කියන්නේ. ඊට අමතරව trade intellectual property පැත්තෙන් ගත්තොත් ඒක intellectual property law එක යටතේ ensure කරලා තියෙනවා නම් අපිට මොකක් හරි ප්‍රශ්නයක් වෙච්ච වෙලාවක අපිට claim කරන්න ඒක හොඳ අවස්ථාවක් වෙනවා. එහෙම register කරලා තිබුණ නැත්නම් trademark එකක් වගේ දෙයක් වුණත් අපිට ඒක claim කරන්න යද්දී අපි ඒක ඔප්පු කරන්න යද්දී ප්‍රශ්නයක් වෙන්න පුළුවන්.
There was one more question. Is it compulsory for us to register for that?
Oh, tax file එකක් open කරන එක අනිවාර්යෙන් කරන්න ඕන. VAT ගෙවන්න ඕන.
Even sole traders.
Sole traders වලට එච්චරම අදාළ වෙන්නේ නැහැ. Private limited company එක තමයි ඒක වැඩිපුරම බලන්නේ.
ඒ ගැන කියනවා ඒක aspects දෙකක් තියෙනවා. එකක් legal aspect and ethical aspect. Ethical aspect එක කිව්වොත් හැමෝම ලංකාවේ tax pay කරන්න ඕන if you are liable to pay. And I believe entrepreneurs are people who have the integrity. So your first motive should not be to evade the tax. If you start with evasion of tax, you are starting from the wrong footing.
I think it's very important that we always do things in the right way from the start.
Exactly. Even to do wrong, even to do the things wrong way, you need to know the right thing first. So start with the right thing.
Are there any terms to get VAT return on a purchase for a VAT registered business? That's another question.
Hashini, are you in a position to answer that? Hashini, පුළුවන් දෙයකට උත්තරයක් දෙන්න?
මේ වෙලාවේ නම් මට ඒ සම්බන්ධයෙන් කියන්න බෑ. මම ඒ සම්බන්ධයෙන් හොයලා කියන්නම් හරියටම.
මම දන්න තරමින් සමහර transactions තියෙනවා VAT refund ගන්න පුළුවන්. Specifically මේ වෙලාවේ ඒ transactions කියලා මම කියන්න දන්නේ නැහැ ඇත්තටම. VAT returns ගන්න පුළුවන්, refunds ගන්න පුළුවන් සමහර transaction types තියෙනවා. Specifically business එකේ startup level අයට stage එක මතත් ඒක කරන්න පුළුවන් transactions තියෙනවා. Specific answer එකක් අපි මේ විනුරිට share කරන්න arrange කරන්න.
How do I minimize my risks as an employer? Another question.
Yeah, I think it's pertaining to the employment, I think this risk, employer has many types of risk. I think this relates to the risk pertaining to employees. How are you going to minimize it? First thing is you need to enter into employment contract. Suppose you give employment something and they leave by 1 month. And you are in trouble. If you depend on the employees to run your business and if they just vanish without any notice period or any notice, and if it is not written and signed, if there is no contract, hardly anything you can do about it. And legally wise also, if you employ somebody beyond 6 months, there are the legal implications also. So always start with entering into contract, and then some of the things you have to play by the tone. You need to keep some of the trade secrets away from the employees, and sometimes you have to divulge some of the secrets to get best out of them and to ensure your productivity and effectiveness and efficiency are in place as an organization. So there are different scenarios that you have to apply based on the situation, context, and the people that you're going to deal with.
I think this falls under the same thing as well when it comes to if by some instance that you have to let an employee go, like you have to dismiss an employee or something.
Yes, definitely.
Just because they are in an employment contract, it doesn't.
No. In contract itself can has clauses for that effect. If somebody doesn't perform well, or if the expected outcome is not there, definitely if it is a breach, of course, next day itself, you can ask that you can fire basically if they are a breach and considered as a breach, and if it is covered through the clauses in the contract. And even a minimum time period that you're going to give for any employee, it can be stated as clause. And from the employee side also, that will ensure that he will have to find someone, and some binding will be there at least up to the last minute.
There's one more question.
Either is related to this, but yeah.
When hiring people, what are the legalities if you are a sole trader?
Hashini, would you mind answering it? So trade ekakadi employees lava hire karadi specific මොනවා හරි තියනවාද legalities?
ඒක business type එක අනුව depend වෙනවා. ඒ වගේම එයාගේ business type එක සහ එයාගේ skills අනුව ඒක depend වෙනවා. එහෙම specific terms එහෙම නැහැ.
තා ප්‍රශ්නයක් තමයි දැන් අපි මිස් හෂිනි විස්තර කරා මීට කලින් අපි සෝල් ට්‍රේඩර් කෙනෙක් හරි පාර්ට්නර්ෂිප් එකක් හරි ප්‍රයිවට් කම්පැනි එකක් හරි අපි රෙජිස්ටර් කරන්න ඕනකොට ඒ අවශ්‍ය ප්‍රොසෙස් එක අපි අදාළ ප්‍රාදේශීය ලේකම් කාර්යාලවල ගිහිල්ලා එතකොට දැන් අපි තියෙනවා එක අපි දැන් මිස් හෂිනි විස්තර කරා මේ දේවල් අපි ෆිල් වෙන්න ඕන කියලා ඒ ෆෝම් ඒ දේවල් අපි ඇක්සස් කරන්නේ කොහොමද ඒවා අපිට ඔන්ලයින් ඇක්සස් කරන්න පුළුවන්ද එහෙම නැත්නම් ඒගොල්ලන්ට ඒව ගන්න පුළුවන් වෙන්නේ කොහොමද කෙනෙක්ට?
ව්‍යාපාරවල පාර්ට්නර්ෂිප් වලට නයි අපිට ප්‍රාදේශීය කාර්යාලයෙන් සිද්ධ වෙනවා. හැබැයි ප්‍රයිවට් ලිමිටඩ් කම්පැනි එක අපි ඉන්කෝපරේෂන් ප්‍රොසෙස් එකම ඔන්ලයින් කරන්න පුළුවන්.
Are there any more questions from the audience?
Since it's the prospective entrepreneurs who have participated, may I ask how you can build your network and what are the things that you will do, innovative ways, things that you can build your networks for whatever the business idea that you have. Can someone tell for the benefit of others also?
And please feel free to give your honest answers, without hesitating whether it's right or wrong. We are all here to learn.
Yeah, of course. You should have some plans somewhere there. If it's at least one person having some idea, some thought, okay, how I approach people, I will build a network, I will build a relationship. And I'm sharing the link and you can access the Intellectual Property Act through that. If you want to get more ideas about it, you can get through the slide deck also about intellectual property.
Answering to the previous question, can we start from our friends or peers and then we can build connections if like friends of friends who are interested in an idea or have some sort of knowledge or expertise that we can reach out to for further advice. So we can build a connection from there.
Yeah, and I expect a specific answer. Now, in a way, you are doing the same thing through this program. You're bringing the resources, you're bringing some of the from the people from the industry, and as well as some like-minded people together, and you even presence of your entity, and you're building a network, and at least some similar mindset, similar-minded person.
Even having
so nowadays it's not much of a thing. You go, and in the Facebook there are circles, and even in Instagram, WhatsApp, it's just at fingertips. And there is a question: if an employee comes forward, how do we dismiss them in a way that it doesn't damage the business reputation? And it all depends on the act of the breach or the fraud. And there are minor major segregations in terms of that. And if it is clearly covered in the employment contract, that's it. But again, based on the situation, if it is a key employee and depends on that, sometimes you will have to take bold calls, but it can be a wrong example that you set for other employees. But sometimes based on the stage of your company, if it is a startup and you depend on one employee completely, and if that employee commits a fraud and keeping him, it has pros and cons. And you will have to weigh and see which is greater, whether it's pros, whether it's cons.
I think
I don't think there will be a reputation damage just by dismissing a person who has committed a fraud. Probably keeping him may be the reputation damage. And it will be the wrong example you set for other employees also. And anybody is replaceable for any organization. And even CEOs are. And if the CEO is the person who is committing fraud, and if you're going to keep him, then you are setting probably the wrongest example. And advising him and directing him, guiding him not to do things based on the type of the fraud, or if it's a minor thing, okay, not to do that, and all those things all fine. But and as an employer, as an entrepreneur, and treating everyone equally is one principle, one value you can always have with you. Any organization, if you see the organization who have built to the level of corporates, you see the vision, mission, objectives plus values. What will be your values? And you can decide it's first day itself as the entrepreneur. These are my values. I'll stick to my values. I will not let go just because of any business opportunity. And you can decide those things at the very early stage.
I think the key point is that having that clear-cut employee agreement.
Yeah, yes, exactly. So that's important. Why it said sometimes you may not be able to prove him has done a fraud or something, any action that you're going to take, unless otherwise you don't have a contract and agreement clearly outlining it. And that's why I said it's important to get into contract with everyone, because in the paper you will do this drafting, everything, treat him like he's an enemy, but you can treat him as a friend in person. But thinking like an enemy in the paper, you draft everything, and then you may not have the same sort of conflicts when it actually happens. In practical scenarios, what happens is it happens actually. And you may not be in an unpleasant situation, there won't be conflicts if it is written and outlined. And you are also aware what to be done. Are there any other questions? Even related to any entrepreneur manner or any other areas, strategy, planning, everything. And this network is some sort of a thing, the organization strategy in more weighted words. And I think there is a session as business plan, and something you need to consider. How you get other organizations, other entities to support your objective and attaining your goal. How you're going to get that support. You can't do it alone for sure.
I think since the time is also passing and we have come to the duration that we have promised for the participants, I think we can wrap up the session for today. But if you have any other questions, you may direct to us, where we can direct to the speakers for sure and get you the answers and get you any advice or expertise that you need from our speakers regarding entrepreneurship, regarding legal aspects, regarding anything. You can always reach out to Team Jumpstart, where we can connect you with these resource personnel to clarify anything, any doubts that you all have. And with that, I would like to conclude this session for today. So I would like to take a moment and thank Mr. Akalanka Ranathunga and Ms. Hashini Wijesekara for making time for us from your busy schedules to educate us on this topic today on legal aspects and business registration. I'm sure it was really insightful and really helpful for you all, especially for making aware of, I really wanted to touch upon that also, apart from the legal aspects and how to be aware of the risks and how to be the depth of entrepreneurship that we have to expect going into the subject, that it should not be taken lightly, and it has we have a big responsibility taking up on this. So thank you so much for all the knowledge and for all the awareness that you created today. And also a special thanks goes to Sasnak Sanskrit Foundation, our knowledge partner for Jumpstart 2021, for connecting us with valuable people like this in the field, so we can broaden our knowledge and expertise. And also a few announcements that I must make. When it comes to Jumpstart 2021, the main competition round, that is the Pitch It, Win It, is open for everyone, for the general public, for Rotaractors, for non-Rotaractors, for everyone. So if you have a business idea that you need validation, that you need to put it out there to seek support for it, this is the best chance for you. So sign up for Pitch It, Win It of Jumpstart 2021. And tomorrow we will be having our 5th workshop for this week, the last workshop for this week before we take a break for Christmas. So tomorrow's workshop will be on digital marketing. And I hope it will also be an interesting session and a very useful session for all potential ideators and entrepreneurs. Also, sign up for those workshops as well. The link is given in the chat box for that and Pitch It, Win It. And for more information about Jumpstart 2021, you can always visit our blog and give our blog a read to get more information on Jumpstart. So with that, we conclude today's session on legal aspects and business registration. Once again, Ms. Hashini, Mr. Akalanka, thank you so much for joining with us, for giving your time to help us broaden our knowledge and expertise. And until we meet tomorrow, stay safe. Good night.
Welcome. Thanks, Simon. Thank you very much for getting connected on behalf of Sasnaga Foundation.